In early 1985, Apple did something that still puzzles tech historians. It released a product called the Macintosh XL, a machine proudly wearing the Macintosh name. That hadn't really been born a Mac at all. Under the beige case, this so-called Macintosh was actually a rebadged Lisa, Apple's earlier, famously troubled graphical business computer. For a brief moment, this hybrid sat awkwardly between two eras. The ambitious, corporate-oriented Lisa and the scrappy, compact Macintosh that was rapidly becoming Apple's future. The Macintosh XL was a compromise born out of unsold inventory, clashing personalities, and a company trying to decide what kind of computers it wanted to build. Its story is short, but it opens a window onto Apple at a crossroads, when even a Mac could be something of an imposter. To understand the Macintosh XL, you have to start with Lisa. Introduced in 1983, the Apple Lisa was one of the first commercial computers with a graphical user interface, complete with windows, icons, menus, and a mouse. Inspired in part by what Apple engineers had seen at Xerox PARC, Lisa was conceived as a serious business workstation, not a home machine. It ran its own sophisticated operating system, supported multitasking, and shipped with an integrated suite of Office applications. On paper, it was years ahead of most of the IBM PC world, but it was also astonishingly expensive, around $10,000 in the United States, and burdened by complex hardware, slow performance, and relatively fragile, proprietary, twiggy, floppy drives in its first configuration. Software support beyond Apple's own tools was thin, while cheaper IBM PCs and compatibles rapidly gained a broad ecosystem of business programs. Historians agree that despite its technical ambitions, the Lisa never found a large audience. High cost, sluggish real-world performance, and a mismatch between its capabilities and what businesses were willing to pay. Left Apple with a prestigious but commercially failed flagship. When the Lisa line stumbled, it didn't just disappear. Apple had real money tied up in hardware. Unsold Lisa systems sitting in warehouses, representing a major inventory and accounting problem. Meanwhile, in January 1984, Apple launched the original Macintosh. It was smaller, more affordable, and heavily marketed as the future of personal computing. The Mac's iconic 9-inch screen and friendly 1984 advertising gave it a public identity that Lisa never achieved, even though early Macs were limited in memory and storage. Inside Apple, the balance of power was shifting. Steve Jobs, who had originally been involved with the Lisa project, but was pushed out of that division after internal conflicts, threw his energy behind the Macintosh team. Their culture, more renegade, more cost-conscious, and focused on simplicity, began to dominate Apple's direction. Accounts differ on exactly how decisions were made and who pushed hardest. But the broad picture is clear. The Lisa program was being wound down, yet Apple still had substantial Lisa inventory. Folding some of that hardware into the rising Macintosh brand seemed like a way to recover value and present a unified product story. The turning point came in 1984 and early 1985 when Apple engineers created a software environment called MacWorks. Rather than running Lisa's native operating system, a Lisa could, with MacWorks installed, emulate the software environment of a Macintosh, allowing many Mac applications to run. Armed with this compatibility layer and updated Lisa 210 hardware, Apple made its move. In January 1985, the company relaunched the Lisa 210 as the Macintosh XL. The machine kept the Lisa's larger case and internal architecture, but was marketed as part of the Macintosh family, now capable, thanks to MacWorks, of running much of the growing Mac software library. Crucially, the price dropped significantly compared to the original Lisa introduction. Instead of a five-figure business workstation, the Macintosh XL was positioned as a more affordable, high-end Macintosh option with a hard drive and a bigger screen. It was framed as a value proposition: more storage, more display space, and Mac software, for less than the Lisa had cost and less than many high-end business systems of the time. Even with the new name, the Macintosh XL was not just another Mac. Where the original Macintosh 128K was a compact sealed appliance with a 9-inch black and white screen and no built-in hard drive, the XL inherited the Lisa's more expansive hardware design. It featured a larger 12-inch display, offering more room for documents and multiple windows. It included a built-in 10 megabyte hard drive at a time when many Macs still relied on floppy disks alone. Internally, it used a Lisa-derived motherboard and expansion slots, giving it more flexibility for add-ons and configuration. This made the XL feel closer to a professional workstation than a friendly home computer. Its case was larger and more utilitarian, lacking the tightly integrated closed-box aesthetic that Jobs favored for the Macintosh line. In effect, Apple was selling two visions of a graphical computer at once: the small, self-contained Mac that could sit on any desk, and this repurposed, more expandable machine that still carried the DNA of the Lisa project. The Macintosh XL entered the market with a curious identity. Reviewers and power users appreciated the larger screen and built-in hard drive, especially for business tasks and software development, where the extra space and storage made a tangible difference. For organizations that had already invested in Lisa hardware, the XL Path and MacWorks software offered a way to extend the life of their machines while tapping into the faster-growing Macintosh ecosystem. But the product also had clear limits. Its Lisa-derived internals meant it wasn't quite as tightly integrated with the evolving Macintosh hardware roadmap. Some Mac software assumed the original Mac's screen size or hardware quirks, and there were still performance trade-offs in emulating the Mac environment. For typical consumers, the simpler, cheaper compact Macs, and soon the Macintosh Plus, were more obvious choices. Apple discontinued the Macintosh XL in April 1985, after less than a year on the market. Sources differ on how much of this was driven by Steve Jobs' preferences versus CEO John Sculley's broader strategy. But many accounts point to a desire for a more uniform Macintosh product line. A hybrid machine with Lisa roots didn't fit the emerging narrative of a clean-focused Mac family, even if a small group of users valued what the XL offered. With so few units sold and such a short official lifespan, the Macintosh XL quickly turned from product to footnote. Over time, though, it has taken on a different kind of significance among collectors and historians. Physically, it stands as a tangible, missing link between the Lisa and the early Macintosh. It shows how Apple tried to bridge two overlapping but not entirely compatible design philosophies: the powerful, business-oriented, expandable workstation and the compact, tightly controlled personal computer. For some users in the mid-1980s, the XL's larger screen and hard drive hinted at a future where Macs would need more storage, more display space, and more expandability. Debates that would reappear in discussions around later models, from the Macintosh 2 to the Power Mac Towers. Today, surviving Macintosh XL systems are rare collector's items. Their value is less about raw capability and more about the story they tell, of an era when Apple was willing to experiment, repurpose, and even blur product lines to navigate financial and technical realities. Looked at from a distance, the Macintosh XL's existence seems almost improbable. A Lisa dressed up as a Macintosh, sold just long enough to clear inventory and then quietly retired. Yet that short chapter reveals how messy product evolution can be, even at a company often remembered for clean, iconic designs. The XL was neither a pure Lisa nor a pure Mac. It was a bridge between two philosophies of personal computing and a snapshot of Apple in transition, wrestling with past investments, internal power shifts, and a rapidly changing market. While the machine itself vanished quickly, the questions it embodied did not. How big should a Mac be? How open or closed? How much should it favor simplicity over expandability? The answers would keep changing in the years that followed, but the Macintosh XL marks an early, unusual attempt to reconcile them. Remembering this strange hybrid reminds us that Apple's path was not a straight line of hits, but a series of experiments, compromises, and occasional dead ends, each one leaving a trace in the machines that did endure.